Today I'm going to be doing one of my character bios again, and this one is actually on Wander, the Fawn. Wander is kind of a mysterious and somewhat scary character, kind of like Lore, and the other creatures and beings in the household tend to want to keep their distance from Wander, especially at first, because she has kind of she's just kind of creepy. She just kind of scares everybody. She appeared out of nowhere and came to live with us, but she really has no backstory at first. And it turns out that she's actually a lot deeper character than everyone originally thought. But at first, in my story that I wrote, she appears in Lore's mask shop on a night when Lore is actually in one of her possessions by one of her masks, and she's kind of alone, and when she's possessed like that, she doesn't like to be bothered. But all of a sudden, Wander comes to her door and just walks in, and it's almost like a feeling of deja vu for Lore, and she knows Wander. She's met her before, she's seen her before, but she's not sure because Lore is unfathomably old and has been and seen a lot of different creatures, but she knows she has met Wander. She knows that there's something a little evil and kind of mischievous, not even mischievous, but just kind of evil about Wander. And it's like deja vu when she walks into the shop. And those two tend to keep their distance from one another. They're almost like magnets that, when put the wrong side, separate from themselves. But anyway, this is Wander. And Wander has had a lot of stories. I've done a lot with Wander. It's funny because she's a Lati Kuru from the Snow Queen event. She's tan. It's funny because she's actually one of my least favorite sculpts. And I'm not even crazy about her face in general. And there's her fawn legs. But the character fits this doll so perfectly that Wander has become one of my favorites. Not because of the doll that she is, but this doll fits my character that I created almost perfectly. She has an eerie look about her. She's solemn and sad looking, and she's kind of creepy looking. And these fawn legs are just really cute. So yes, so this is Wander. Wander has been through a lot. It turns out that Lore and Wander have kind of a weird past. Lore was she met her when Wander lived on an island with her family and was actually kind of one of the most important fawns in the community. She was the daughter of the king of the fawns, but in order to stay in the fawn community, you have to do a certain task, and if you don't complete it, you're pretty much banished forever and left for dead, pretty much. And Wander was actually sent to my home to steal a dragon's egg and take it back to where the fawns lived. And the fawns, who are actually kind of an evil community, had plans to raise the baby dragon for evil intent. So it was actually Wander's task to steal Akanar and Mara's egg and raise the baby for evil intent. And Laura kind of knew something about this, and she knew that fawns were sent to do this type of thing before they were allowed to stay in their communities. So Laura was very, very aware, and she had actually met Wander on one of her previous journeys in search of masks. And so it took her a while to figure out why this fawn looked familiar, but she knew she was here for no good because fawns do not leave their community unless it's time for their task to stay in their kind of family circle. And she knew that it had to be a big quest because Wander was actually one of the main fawns in the community. So that's kind of, lore kind of played a big part in that. And actually, Wander did try to steal the dragon's egg in one of my storylines, and Lore was the one who actually saved the dragon's egg along with Mist and helped Mist teleport to an island with the egg that Wander could not follow. So it's really complicated storyline, but it's pretty cool. And I actually have pictures that depict most of these things. So I don't know, if you want to go back and look at them, you can. But I have a lot of photo stories for Wander. And then after that, Wander her life got changed. She apologized and she repented. She knew she could never go home because she was banished. But she kind of came to accept that. And her and Laura actually came to not so much as a friendship, but more of an agreement that they were going to be okay with each other from now on, because Laura knew that since she didn't complete her task, that she was banished and she could do no more to hurt anyone. She was pretty much done for, and her family would never talk to her again. So Laura actually, as a tribute to their newly found connection, not really friendship, but just an agreement not to do any more evil stuff, gave her a baby deer. Not really baby, but a deer. Just a normal forest deer as a pet, because Wander is part deer. And Wander actually came to fall in love with the deer, and the deer also fell in love with Wander, which sounds really weird, but in my photo stories it makes more sense than it just does me telling it, because it sounds really weird. But through a big complicated storyline, again, which I took pictures of, Wander was able to bring the deer into a form that could actually love her, and she could love him, and they actually got married. So Wander actually recently got married to Forrest, the deer, who is now in an appropriate form to love her. And it's really not a weird relationship, because she is part deer and he is a deer. So they were able to work that out, and then Wander got pregnant, and all of a sudden her world turned upside down, because she actually found out and figured out for herself that the baby was actually going to kill her, and it actually does kill her. Wander dies in my storyline, and I'm not going to spoil that because it's a recent storyline, and if you want to finish it, you'll have to go and read my story for it. Maybe I'll post the first picture in a link below so you can kind of start with picture number 1 and follow it. But yes, Wander actually dies in my storylines. So I'm not going to spoil the ending of that one, but it's actually really sad. Her baby survives, Forrest survives, but Wander actually dies. But Wander is one of my actually very, very, very complicated characters, as you can tell by my drolling on and on and on and on about different stories that I have had her in and how her life has progressed. She had finally found happiness with Forrest, and then she died. So yeah, it's quite sad. I'm kind of missing Wander right now, even though I still have her right here. But to me, these guys are almost alive. So when I talk about them, their characters is almost like they're actually real. Even though this is just a skin, it's almost like I'm talking about a real character. But yeah, Wander is very, 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 very dear to me, because even though I'm not a big fan of the doll in general, her character rocks. So yes, she is a Snow Queen Kuru from the Lati, reindeer Kuru from the Lati Snow Queen release. So yes, I very much like her. I'm going to end this up now, because that was kind of really long and complicated. I don't even know if anybody could catch anything that I was talking about. But I tried to go over most of the storylines that she's been in. And the next one is actually going to be Kamiho. I always light up when I talk about each one of these characters is pretty much so special to me that every time I see their page, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to talk about. But yes, Kamiho the Animagus, which is actually Kitsune's, which we talked about a few videos ago, husband, and he is also an animagus fox, and they are married. And they also have a very, very rich and like history and a very complicated storyline, but we will save that for next time. So I will talk to you guys later. Hopefully I can make another one of these coming up soon. I've been really busy lately, so I haven't been able to do the one a day like I was, but it gets complicated after a while. But I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!